on produce. And this is a topic that we definitely do, I'd say, twice a year. So I'm okay, guys, with questions that you have that are off topic, or maybe you've got some issues of things that just aren't clicking for you on how to save on certain items. So ask away on whatever the questions are. But meat and produce is a big way of saving. And I've written a lot of posts on it. We've done this Q&A a lot, but I still took the time today, if I can turn to the right page in my little book, I'm running in the door here, and realized even in sitting down to take notes and get ready, it was 2 whole pages. So there's still a ton to saving on meat and produce, and really great tips for helping us to save on lots of things right now. So, we are talking meat and produce, but you think, how could I apply this to other things that we're grabbing and having them stockpiling a little bit, like we talked about last week, so that we can handle until it comes back on sale. These are good things for saving on your grocery budget. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. But again, completely okay with questions that are off topic. Ask away on whatever questions that you have. So as we dive in, to start off with, I want to hit meat first. And I was hoping to have lots of props and show and tell for you, but that just didn't happen tonight. I'm also going to tell you guys that I'm running solo to this tonight. Normally my husband is here to help me catch questions, make sure I don't miss in comments. And I don't know what alternate universe he lives in, but he forgot that we have things we do on Monday. Yeah, we've done this Q&A for like 8 years. So he is at a deacons meeting tonight, and you have just me. So if I miss your question, I don't know, jump up and down, say it again. I will not be offended. If you give me a couple minutes and I don't answer, just ask again tonight, because normally I've got him to help me catch it, and tonight I don't. So to dive in, I want to start with meat. The biggest ways that I would encourage you on saving for meat, just to go kind of by points here. The first one is to try to buy in bulk. So whenever we can, that we are aiming to get the larger size, the value size, the family size, or ideally that we're actually not shopping in the grocery store for it. So a lot of you already know I do not purchase most of our meat, any meat really, in the grocery store. We get all of our meat from a local restaurant supply store. And so that is what I would encourage you to also really be in the habit of trying to do, that you can aim to get your meat outside of the traditional market, because you are going to get such a better price when you do that. So I'm going to show you even some pictures of what I mean by that. And some of these are from a few months ago. I did not make it into the chef store today. So I will tell you that prices have changed. I know they have, but it's still giving you an idea. If you even back up a few months ago of where we would be price per pound on a lot of items, it will help you see how much prices have changed. But it does help you to see, because when we talk about buying things in bulk from a restaurant supply store, maybe from the warehouse clubs, you won't get the price quite as low in a warehouse club as you will from the restaurant supply store. So this is the price literally if you bought the entire case. Now, that's a lot of hamburger. To buy the case, it would be 80 pounds. But even to buy it by the chub, which is the one long 10-pound roll, is only about 40 cents more. So for you to see kind of, oh, I can get 10 pounds of ground beef. Now, 10 pounds of ground beef may for you seem like, whoa, that would take, just me or me and my husband a really long time to use up. I get that. We all live in, have different amounts of folks that live in the house with us. So what I would encourage you to do is first to realize that buying in bulk does save us some money. So let me show you, get a few other pictures here just to show you versus flipping through these older pictures. I'd rather just pull one up because I don't know what's going to come. Here's one, even just on strip. This is buying the entire strip loin. So it's going to be a little pricey, but if you were to think about that in terms of steaks, you went home and you cut up your own steaks, you played your own butcher, that's a crazy good price for strip loin steaks. So this is where, again, buying in the wholesale side of things. So a restaurant supply store, what we have in our area is called the U.S. Foods Chef Store. There's 4 or 5 of them in the country, but there are other restaurant supply stores as well. So Gordon Food Service, just Googling the name of a big city near you and restaurant supply, hopefully you're going to find one near you. U.S. Foods Chef Store, trying to think of where they are right now. I know there's one in Columbia because that's where I am, Columbia, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. I think Savannah, Georgia has one right now. Charleston, South Carolina has one. Oklahoma. There are a few others that are out there, but then again, you can look up those other restaurant supply stores. With these particular stores, no membership fee. I don't have to be a member of a club. I just walk in and shop and I can get whatever I want. So let's say you aren't in Columbia, South Carolina, but you're within an hour. It's totally worth a road trip to head to these stores. So for us, we buy ground beef. We'll buy it a kind of 20 or so pounds at a time, sometimes 30 pounds, vacuum seal it and put it away. A couple months later, we might get chicken. So we try to kind of alternate the meat so that we can afford it. If you didn't live here, maybe you'd come down and do a big trip, split it with some friends to make it affordable if you could, but it would be worthwhile. So again, buying in bulk, the largest size we can find in the grocery store if that's what we have to do, or a warehouse, a wholesale kind of place. Another option, if you don't have restaurant supply, is actually to go directly to a butcher. And this seems like, very 1900s, but they still exist. You do still have butchers that are in the area. So looking up a local butcher and seeing, do you have a price for buying the whole strip loin or buying by the case? You will get a great price. And last one to throw out here, seems even more foreign, is actually buying the cow. Now, I don't mean that you're going to know the cow. You will never meet the cow in person. This is really, again, through the butcher, sometimes directly through a farm. There are farms that will arrange it. You won't really want the whole cow. That's a lot of meat, but they will arrange it to where you want a quarter and they find 3 other people and boom, you're now going to pay the wholesale, the true wholesale price for that meat. It is a great way to save on beef, and there are a number of farms that do this directly in the Southeast. Now, keep in mind, you don't want the whole cow. You're talking about an entire freezer for one cow if you did that. You don't have that kind of freezer space, and there's not really a need to buy it in that size. Most farms will do a quarter, a half. I mean, they'll gladly sell you a whole, but I don't think you need to go quite there. So even a quarter, still a great price. You're going to pay a flat price per pound. You don't pay a different price. So like I showed you here, I'm not going to pay for the strip loin and then pay for the brisket and different prices for everything. I'm going to pay a flat price, period, along with a butchering fee, and that's it. So it does come out to be a pretty sweet deal when you come home with a lot of steaks and a lot of roasts. And a lot of times those farms will let you decide what you want to get to in your bit, the whatever you decide, the quarter or the half. Okay, so with all of this, if I'm buying a large amount of meat, I do need a vacuum sealer. I'm just going to say it. I think we talked about it last week because someone asked for a deal too. But vacuum sealers, guys, if you're going to put anything in the freezer long term, it must be vacuum sealed. We've got to keep the oxygen off of it, or you're going to have massive freezer burn. And 2 months from now, you are not going to be able to tell whether it was beef or chicken. So don't do that to yourself. You're making the investment of buying meat in bulk, which is a savings, and long term, having a vacuum sealer, you're not going to have to get a ton of them. We've got one that, I'm pretty sure we've had since my kids were like 2 and they're about to turn 17. So it has had a good life. It has held up great. Hopefully you would have the same experience. We have a food saver. That's what everyone always asks. There are some off brands there too. But Food Saver does run some great sales. If you watch directly on their website, foodsaver.com, you will see some great sales that pop in. So that's really where I would push you and what I would recommend. LaDonna, great question. Do they require a tax ID? They do not. So US Foods does not require that you own a restaurant. Anyone can walk in and shop at the US Foods Chef Store. You do not have to own a business or any such thing. You're literally just going to walk in and check out like you went to the grocery store. They're not even going to ask you, much less want you to show them something. It's just a normal grocery store, basically. Just keep in mind when you go to a restaurant supply store, you're really there for the meat and maybe the spices. I do like my spices at the chef store, but you are not there for much more. You are gonna buy like soy sauce as in a 50-gallon drum, but you're just not gonna use everything in restaurant supply. But they do have some other great prices. I actually took some other pictures, so I'll show you some of the things that we do tend to grab when we're there, just in case some of you guys are gonna make a stop to a restaurant supply store. We love their frozen fruits. I always look for frozen fruits. So this is a case of blueberries. It's 10 pounds of blueberries for $17.99. So it's about $1.79 a pound, which is a great price for blueberries. It is frozen, but you're not even going to see fresh that cheap for a pound of blueberries. This is 5 pounds of mangoes for $15.78. So we love smoothies around here. This would be 2 of these 5-pound bags in the case. That's what this price is right here, is basically $22 for 10 pounds of peaches. Or I guess, trying to look at that. That's the fruit mix. Sorry. I don't know where the peaches price is. He's just hanging there, but no price. The other thing that we always get at the chef store is flour. My husband loves to make bread. And we do a fair bit of baking. So flour, this is a 25-pound bag of flour, is $9.98 for just plain flour, but you'll also find bread flour that's about that same price and is a great one. And then spices. Now, a lot of super uber cooks would tell you you would never want to buy spices this big because they're going to lose their potency and their flavor. And I don't necessarily recommend you buy all your spices in this size, but there are some that maybe you do use a lot. There's one in particular that our chef store sells that is called home fry seasoning. It's probably meant to make home fries with. I don't make home fries, but I call it my house seasoning because it goes on everything. If I'm making roast veggies, house seasoning. So we do go through that container a lot. So since we were here, I can easily show you those pictures. Since I took them all, those are some of the other things that I would grab in the restaurant supply store. And Lily, what vacuum seal model? Whew. Okay, so ours is no longer around, doesn't exist. But I will show you what I prefer. Now, we have tried a few different models, and it's a long story. We won't go there, but we do own more than one vacuum sealer. But when you're on Food Saver's site, let me make it a little bigger. There we go, vacuum sealers. I would recommend spending a little bit more on one. And keep in mind, guys, they will run sales. So you're waiting for the sales, not necessarily paying these prices that you see. But we have this one right here, and it works great. It is not the original model that we owned, and that is just one of the ones that we own. But we've also tried and returned one of these guys. So one of these cheap little flat ones, and I'll pull this one up just so you can see. I actually don't recommend this one as much. It's not as powerful, and it doesn't get as much of the oxygen out. It will get it pretty vacuum sealed, but if you are dealing with anything that's juicy, so I put up a lot of veggies, which we're going to tonight, right? We will have a garden every summer, and we put up a lot of fresh veggies. Well, fresh veggies, before you freeze them, you need to blanch them. If you've never done this, a quick Google search, you search the name of the veggie and how long to blanch it. So corn on the cob, blanch for 30 seconds. So blanching means that you stick it into boiling water for 30 seconds, and then you pull it out and you put it into water, ice water, like a quick ice water bath, because you want to heat it up and then you want to cool it down really fast. I don't want it to keep cooking, but that's enough to get the starches to stop growing. That will keep your corn sweet. It keeps all veggies need to be blanched before they get put up in the freezer for long-term freezing. But because of this, they're coming out of an ice water bath, they're wet. And so when you go and you try to vacuum seal them, and this guy, All I found was that the tray just constantly would fill up, and it would alert you that the tray was full, and so you'd go dump it. And meanwhile, you're still trying to seal one package. So it's not my favorite. All of that said, I would stick with one of the larger ones that kind of has the stand up, has some height to it. I feel like it just has a stronger motor. And the two that we've had that are taller, I've never had issues with. They've been great. So hopefully that answers your question without giving you an exact model number, because this guy looks like the one we have, but I would imagine, Lily, even the ones we have, they don't currently make, because everybody's always coming out with a new model, bigger and better, right? And I see Jolene saying, there's no restaurant supply store near me, and that's okay. If you don't have something like that in your neck of the woods, I would encourage you to go the butcher route. See what you can get from a butcher that is still in that kind of trying to get that wholesale, trying to buy by the case, going direct to the farmer, because that's still going to save you a chunk. And in terms of price, we're seeing ground beef right now in the grocery store upwards of like $4.99 a pound. And ground beef in the restaurant supply wholesale side is still more like $3.99 or even less a pound. So there is an encouragement. It might take you a little bit more leg work to find that, but I think in the end you're going to be glad that you did. So just see what you can find, Jolyn, even if it's not that restaurant supply store. One other option, Sam's and Costco will sell by the case. It's not usually a different price, so it is the same price as if you bought it by the container, but you can always check and see, hey, do you have a case price? I have gone in and seen them mark it as a special today, and it was lower by the case, but it's not always. So it is something to at least look into. Do I food savor our frozen fruit? That is a great question, LaDonna. So talking about the frozen fruit that we grab at the chef store, in particular, we don't usually food savor this. And someone actually asked me this kind of along the lines in terms of fresh fruit. So I actually just keep it in these cases, inside the case for blueberries. It's inside of a bag. And so we just take the bag and we close it up and we keep it like that. But because we're constantly, a week from now, going to make smoothies again. We don't make smoothies every single day. I know some folks, like, that's your breakfast. Around here, it's once a week. But we're going to go back into that box. And with 7 folks, that box at once a week is going to last us 2 or 3 months. I'm not trying to get them to last into next year. I don't really worry about breaking this up into smaller bags and vacuum sealing it. If I had fresh veggies and I was going to try to put them up in the freezer, I would vacuum seal them, though, just to get those fresh veggies up. I guess it just depends on how you're using them. And so this is what I came to last week, because when it comes to blueberries in particular, we also tend to eat them like snacks. So I don't know if you've ever had frozen blueberries in your freezer, but around here, just reaching in and popping a few, it's almost as good as a bowl of ice cream, guys. It's just pretty good stuff. People will put them on their cereal, will stick them in pancakes from time to time. So I probably wouldn't vacuum seal my blueberries because I would be regularly using them, but I would do most anything else. Okay. So, and thank you. So LaDonna's saying she's had her vacuum sealer for over 16 years. So when you spread that out, yes, it's definitely worth it in the end. Same for us. Ours is easily 15 years old. And we have definitely gotten the probably 130 or so when you get it on a sale that you would pay for that larger model. Okay. And Sharon says, we have a restaurant supply store in Atlanta, but it requires that you are a buyer for a food or nonprofit business. Any ideas? So one thing that has worked in the past for those restaurant supply stores, Sharon, is that all you need is a tax ID number. And actually anybody in the country can get a tax ID number that is not your own. So you can go to the IRS and just request a tax ID number. And the reason most people The reason most people would request one, it'll give you the selections, is that you want one for your household. The restaurant supply store isn't going to really check that. So a lot of times it's if you're well off enough that you are paying a maid or you have a nanny or something like that, and I don't want to give that person my social security number, then I basically can get a tax ID number that is still me, but is blocking my social security number. It's helping to protect my identity. So anybody can get one of those. I don't have to file a tax return to have that. Just because I have that doesn't require the paperwork is sent to the government on it. So that's probably what I would go in hunting for if you wanted to shop there. Another one might be to see if they would let you at least look around. Make sure that the prices are what you would be willing to pay before you went to that those extra steps to get that tax ID number. But that could be a solution too. Another one, just to throw this out there, would be your church. If you were part of a church or part of a nonprofit group, seeing if they would let you be a shopper for them and head in and see what the prices are, even just using that tax ID number from a local group too, so that you could get in the door and see what you wanted to grab. Okay. So to keep moving, that's just going bulk there, but we can't really pass up clearance either. There are a ton of really great clearance deals on meat. So with clearance, when we're hunting for clearance, I highly recommend that you ask your store, when do you mark down clearance? My favorite, you guys have heard me share, is Lowe's Foods. Ooh, getting really big. And lately it's one particular Lowe's Foods that just doesn't have a lot of shoppers yet. They just did their kind of grand opening, even though they've been around, literally like double markdown meat. It's just begging you to buy it. I didn't actually buy this, but I should have in the end. And the reason I didn't, in case you're curious, is that little 0.4 pounds of orange roughy would feed 2 people in my house, and I would be left with 5 people that didn't have dinner. So not every clearance piece is going to work for everybody. But watching for clearance items is huge. Also making sure that it's still a decent price. So again, not every markdown is a decent price, and doesn't mean that you really want to go diving into it depending on what it is. So the one above it this is tuna. It's regular with card price would be $7.36. Its bargain price is only $5.50. They haven't, we're not talking 50% off here. We're talking really like maybe 30%, but this isn't even half a pound of tuna. So you're still talking over $11 a pound. That's not a deal in my book. I wouldn't buy $11 a pound fish. Now that may be a great price for tuna, maybe $10 a pound. But in our world, that would be a massive splurge. That's not feeding 7 people. Again, the size wouldn't work, but I couldn't afford to give 7 people fresh tuna. So not going to be in the cart. So make sure you're paying attention to your clearance deals and grabbing what really is a clearance deal before you dive into that. So with clearance deals on meat, again, you want to ask your store, what day do we mark things down? And try to shop on those days, and also kind of knowing your store. So knowing that Publix is never going to mark down meat. There's no point in even asking. They don't do it. They just take anything that would have been marked down, they regrind it if it's beef, and they turn it into market ground beef. But you're not going to find anything else that's on clearance. So I want to shop in those other stores that are around you for clearance meat when you can. Okay. And Lily, I have not tried that. I confess I don't even know if I know what it is. I have to look that one up. But I've definitely not tried it. And Karen, let's see. So off topic, what is Walmart Pay? Do you pay for this service like Amazon Prime? I used to get gas at Walmart using gift cards. So I think you mean Walmart Plus, Karen, if that's what you're talking about. So Walmart Pay is free. Anybody can use it. That's just the way to check out if you want to use the Walmart app and pay through the Walmart app. Then you use Walmart Pay, and behind Walmart Pay, you plug in a credit card or something that it's going to process through. So that is what Walmart Pay is, and you'll have that in your app to where you just scan a QR code at the register and you can check out with Walmart Pay. Now, Walmart Plus is like Amazon Prime. I actually just shared a deal on it today, so I don't know if this is why you're asking whether you saw that or not. But Walmart Plus is like Amazon Prime. You're going to get free 2-day shipping. You're going to get, I'm trying to think of all the perks, free delivery on grocery orders that are over $35, or free same day delivery, free 2-day shipping, 5 cents off a gallon of gas at Walmart and Murphy stations, plus you get access to all of the Sam's Club stations. So you don't get an extra 5 cents off at Sam's Club stations, but you do get to use them even if you don't have a Sam's Club membership. It's kind of a fun perk. They also offer some discounts on prescriptions and a few other things. So that is Walmart Plus. It costs $98 a year. Keep in mind, Amazon Prime is like $150 now. But that gives you, a breakdown of what it is and what the savings are to give you a comparison. I am for it, and we actually have Walmart Plus mostly because in our neck of the woods, Amazon's gotten to where if we order something, it takes a week. There is no 2-day shipping. Maybe if I lived a little closer to town and we've actually found ourselves, if we need something right away and only Amazon has it, we actually have it shipped to my mom's house who lives closer to town. But we aren't going to get it through Amazon, period, less than a week. And that got annoying. Walmart, we really will get it in 2 days. That made us happy. The gas savings is helpful, but $98, I wouldn't get it just for the gas savings. That's a lot of gas at 5 cents. Don't know that you're going to hit the discount on that $98. So it's really going to be the shipping, maybe the free same day delivery if you're within the radius for that being a perk as to making that cost effective for you if you wanted to go that route. And one other option here too is Target. So if you have the Target Red Card, which is free, you get free delivery as well on any order size. I don't have to pay $98. I can just have the Target Red Card and get free 2-day delivery on pretty much everything that you want to grab. So that could be the other option that you choose, and you save your $98. Walmart is offering a free 30-day trial though right now. That's the deal that we posted earlier today. And if you do the trial and then you sign up, you will get $20 off of your next Walmart purchase. So it's kind of like a discount on the $98, kind of not, but it's still a $20 discount in the end if you keep it after the 30-day trial. Okay. Hopefully that helps a little bit on answering your question as to what that is. But Walmart Pay, if you're just asking about that in particular, that is just using the app to check out and scanning the QR code in the app. Okay. Yeah, so Karen, I think LaDonna answered your question. Tax ID forms do not completely erase the tax because not a business would always have to pay the sales tax. It would be if you were using even a church account would still have to have a tax exempt form to be able to get tax exempt status in businesses. So even if I'm buying something for the church from Sam's here locally, I'm still going to pay sales tax on that, because I'm not going to take the time to grab the form from the church and do all of this just to go get another pack of paper plates that we need for church lunch. So generally, you're not going to deal with a sales tax issue as you check out. Carrie, you're right. I was actually pondering that as our next Q&A, of just a whole Q&A on how to save on gas for sure. Okay, so let's see. Oh, and my husband's chiming in and saying it doesn't even work for churches really he's here, by the way. I'm no longer here by myself. You no longer have to, you have to prove that you don't sell the food or anything like that to be able to get that tax exempt status. So it's a little tricky all the way around in terms of when you're going to buy things in stores to get that sales tax removed. Most people aren't going to do it. Okay. Oh, you guys have a lot of gas questions tonight. I like it, Diana. Slightly off topic. Get Upside versus using Gas Buddy. If you're using Gas Buddy and you have the Gas Buddy card, you will get some discounts at pumps. The last time that I was in Gas Buddy, I didn't see the availability for cash back on pumps. I will kind of use both. And I don't know if that's the answer you want, but typically for me, Diana, I use Gas Buddy to find who has the best price. And then I will open up and see if I can find some extra Get Upside credit on that best price. So for me, Gas Buddy's not even wanting to load right now. I was going to try to show you, I think it's just not happy with our internet while I stream, but you could kind of use them together in that route, but I would definitely take advantage of whatever cashback offers were there for sure. And Get Upside is the one that we have mentioned in the past. So Barbara, as you are asking, that's the one that I tend to mention the most. If you've not ever used Get Upside as well, it is an app that gives you cash back as you grab gas. You're going to pay for it. Then a lot of times it's an automatic send. You will link a credit card with them, but sometimes you'll take a picture of your receipt and then you will earn cash back on that particular fill up in the app. When you have a certain amount saved up, you will get it back. So if you've not ever used Get Upside, I have a code that you can use and you will get free, or not free, but you'll end up getting 15 cents off of each gallon that you purchase on your first fill up. So I'll stick this in and have my husband put it in the comments since he's around, but it's Jenny 8792 is my Get Upside code. And then once you're using it, you'll get a code and you can share that with friends too. Okay. Oh, and Jill says Walmart's really getting on her nerves with no price matching. You can check a price and they'll not honor that price and say you have to order online. I'm sorry, Jill. Walmart isn't really a place that I go in and actually shop a lot. We just shop their online deals and have it shipped to the house. So, but I completely understand if you wanted, just get frustrated and give up. I'd be right there with you. Okay, so I'm gonna dive back in here into meat. A lot of folks, oh, there we go. So Sharon's saying Gas Buddy is not working for her either. So maybe it's not my internet. Glad it's not just me. Everybody's trying to find gas. I know in our area, we have our homeschool co-op on Mondays, and I went into co-op this morning at 8:30 in the morning, and by the time we were done with co-op at 3, all of the gas stations had gone up 20 cents a gallon. It's incredibly painful that could just happen in like 6 hours. It's just not cool. Okay, let's finish up on meat really quick. So there's one more thing I wanted to hit on here, because maybe kind of two. We've hit on a lot here. Big one, as you are hunting for meat, don't forget to just look at cheaper cuts. You may be in a habit of, I always buy this type of meat for something, but there's probably a cheaper cut that could get that recipe done. So in terms of chicken, that would be, your chicken breasts are the most expensive, your chicken legs and thighs are the least expensive. Even whole chicken per pound still comes out cheaper than boneless, skinless chicken breasts. So just consider that. Now, whole chickens may scare you. I will confess, I didn't even try to cook one until probably like 5 years ago. We've been married for almost 15 years by that point. By the time we're gonna do this. And I kind of felt like Julia Childs tackling it, but they're really not that hard. And Google, even pull up a Julia Childs video if you want. You'll be required to dance with your chicken, but they really aren't that hard to cook. And the price per pound on a roaster or an little oven chicken is actually significantly lower than a chicken breast. So branch out, stretch your cooking horizons a little bit, but you're going to be able to save some money there. The same thing in beef. You may be used to or wanting a really great steak. That may not be affordable. Maybe we splurge for a great steak for Valentine's Day, dining in, but you can still find some great prices and some cheaper cuts. London broil, even a cheap flank steak, crazy cheap. I've gotten a lot of those on clearance lately as well. The cheaper the meat, the best rule of thumb, the cheaper the meat that you get, I'm going to need to marinate it, and I'm going to need to cook it low and slow. Generally, that's how you're going to kind of take what is a tough cut of meat and make it softer. So those are your 2 tricks that you can always keep up your sleeve. marinate it and cook it low and slow, even better. But that's how you're going to handle those cheaper cuts. And then the last one on meat here is to also keep in mind your cheap proteins. So our goal in terms of saving money is to put food on the table, and it's not to necessarily feel like we are running a restaurant. If you have the money to have meals that feel like they're fresh out of the restaurant, that's marvelous. But around here in this house, I've got 7 people to feed, and I want to put a good dinner in front of you. I want it to be a well-rounded dinner, but I can't always afford for that to be something super high-end. So eggs, canned tuna, fish, some cuts of fish, types of fish, not cuts, all cheaper than some of just your chicken and your beef that are out there right now. Beans, they're still a form of protein. It's also okay to have a meatless night once a week or more, but that you just throw it in there and make it a theme and run with it. I will say it is not my husband's favorite. He is very much wants meat on the table, and so we're used to that. But it's okay. Even he will take it, to take a dinner that is going to be a meatless night and have a meatless chili, have, that you're going to make bean burritos. There's a lot that you can have. It's a fun and delicious meal that is meatless. We've actually done some meal plans that are meatless meal plans if you go hunting through all of our meal plans on Southern Savers. So if you are hunting for just ways, if you thought about that in terms of cost, just one night a week, we didn't eat meat, and how much you would save in the course of a month. When you think of the average cost of meat being the most expensive part of your meal, it is going to be a chunk at the end of the month that you work that in. And if you want to go more, that's, your call. I'm just trying to get you to take baby steps here, but go big if you want to, for sure. The eggs, that's me almost preaching to myself because I got a lot of chickens in the side yard. We don't eat eggs as often as we should. It's a great, cheap form of protein. So jumping in, not forgetting those things when you can, is a great one. And LaDonna's saying she loves Costco's rotisserie chicken. And she said in her area, it's still $4.99 and freezes well once pulled off the bone. I agree. I also, LaDonna, I will tell you, one of my splurges in Costco is actually their rotisserie chicken that's already been pulled off the bone. You can usually get, it's vacuum sealed, and it will be a lot of times a 2.5 pound package of rotisserie chicken. It's more in the $12 range, but it is probably equal to quite a few chickens when it comes down to it. It's not just the meat of one rotisserie chicken. So I will grab that, and we'll do a big freezer cooking day and do all sorts of things with that pre-pulled rotisserie chicken. So for me, I kind of feel like it's a splurge, but it's a splurge that like takes off a ton of time on a freezer cooking day because I didn't have to cook it, and I didn't have to shred it, and I didn't have to pick it off the bone. So there are moments, but that's a Costco buy too in the meat department, that if you're ever having one of those days, chicken pot pie, chicken casseroles, it's pretty awesome. Okay, let's switch to produce really quick. I don't want us to run out of time and only hit meat, even though meat is great. And I guess before I do that, there is one thing that I wrote on here that I didn't share, but I will put it out there because as we switch to produce, one of the best ways to save on produce is to grow it yourself. And in terms of meat, one of the best ways to save on meat is to go old school here and to go fishing and to go hunting. And that may not be you. I will gladly catch a fish, but I am not going to bait my own hook. I am very much still a girl on a lot of things there. I'm probably also not going to touch the fish once I catch it. So, I'm totally preaching to the choir on this one. I will gladly go fishing though. Does that count? We all have our issues. So hunting and fishing, catching your own meat, it is a great way to save on meat. You are going to need a fishing license and a hunting license. I can't help you there, but thankfully they're good for a year. So going to at least mention that. You could also raise your own meat as well. We have, in all of our chickenness, we have actually eaten a couple of them. I don't do most of that part either, but it's, it's what you can handle. So I'm just throwing it out there as things for you to consider. That's my job, right? Just things to consider to help you save some money. Hopefully I'm not alone. I know some of you are probably like, I would bait my own hook, and you guys are awesome. But I don't do things that are really wiggly. I just don't. And we have rules in this house that some creatures have to stay outside. And I have little girls who will do all those things. So I am not necessarily raising my children to have my issues, but I'm not touching them. They can catch all the worms. I'm not catching any. Okay, produce. To switch to produce, most of you know the first thing I'm going to tell you, and that is that you must look at joining a produce co-op. So this is a picture from our co-op. This is actually a picture of my lovely broken laundry basket right here. So we pay $30 for produce co-op, and this is what we come home with. $30. There's no way that you could touch this in a grocery store. Actually, someone in our co-op did a price breakdown this week of our basket. This is not actually this week's basket, but it's very similar to what we did come home with this week. This week's basket priced out, and she used Walmart and Aldi prices, would have cost $65 in Walmart or in Aldi. So, I mean, if you want a comparison, that's just our co-op. Now, I know you don't necessarily live in my town, but there are co-ops all over the country. So Googling the name of your town and produce co-op is going to help you find that. If you're still not coming up with anything, I would go to your local farmers market. I would go to your local agricultural extension office, call them and say, hey, are there any produce co-ops or even produce farmers markets around? You can even set up your own. So a co-op is super simple. I'll actually walk you through how we do it. So everybody in our co-op brings a laundry basket. So we are just a community group of people. We line our baskets up and we all take turns sorting this out. So you can tell this is from a little bit ago because we're all wearing coats, but and it was like 80 something today. But it gives you an idea of how basic this can be. Our co-op does have about 40 people on a regular basis, but you can really run a co-op with as few as 5. It's really just you guys coming together and splitting up a box of produce. So maybe you don't buy a bunch of different types of produce, but we still split them up. This is still a pretty massive savings for you. And the other thing I want to show you, I always try to pull this up, is a market report for the local goodness, my words are gone. This will show you the market report. It's really for our local produce co-op. So if you use the link, would be so.savers.me, svrs.me/market, and I'll have my husband stick this in too for you guys. It will pull up this report. So this report is from the Columbia, South Carolina Farmers Market. Again, I know you don't live in my neck of the woods, but it's a great report. There are reports for farmers markets all over the country. Well, I say all over the country. For reports for all federal farmers markets across the country. There are 19 federal markets in the country. So for some of you, the actual potential is that we are your closest federal market. This is still telling you what is in season, what's here right now at the market, and what the going price for these items are. Keep in mind, this is not for one bell pepper. This is for a case of bell peppers. So as you go hunting down the list, this is on the bulk side of things. Like sweet potatoes here, I can get 40 pounds of sweet potatoes, depending on the size, as low. Number 2s are 15 to 18. Number 1s, which are bigger, are 20 for 40 pounds. That's 50 cents a pound. You try finding 50 cent a pound sweet potatoes right now. Now, I don't need 40 pounds of sweet potatoes, and you probably don't need 40 pounds of sweet potatoes. This is where being a co-op, getting a few friends together and saying, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to buy a few different things. We're going to pool our money and see what we can handle and buy in bulk is going to save you money. So for us, having about 40 baskets in our co-op means what he will grab, and I say, hey, I'm not the buyer, I just show up. But we'll all usually come home with about 3 or 4 sweet potatoes, maybe 5 or 6, depending on how many were in the case. So, splitting that up amongst a bigger group is obviously easier, but you can do this with a small number. I still just want you to see it from a perspective of grocery prices versus farmers market prices, though. And my favorite go-to for that is always bell peppers. I know that they're there because we had some in our basket this week. So here we go. I had to search the page for it. And let me make it a little bigger for you guys too. So this is bell peppers. They're in a 1 1/9 bushel carton, which is really just a really big box right here. $14 to $15 for the case. Now hold up. How many are in the case? About 70 for $14 to $15. 70. Do you know how much a bell pepper costs in a grocery store? You are doing good to find it at around $1 a pepper. Yeah, and it's $14 for 70 of them. So this is where not being in the grocery store is a significant savings. Even shopping in a farmer's market yourself, you could pull up this report on your phone. We do not like to haggle, but it is a haggling situation. So if you walked in and they had a little basket of bell peppers out and they wanted to charge you $8 for them, and you saw, hey, that has like 4 bell peppers in it, you could say, hey, would you take $4 at $1 a pepper? That's the grocery store price. Or would you, you can kind of talk them down. You know the prices and you can pull this report. So this report, again, the URL, we stuck it in the comments. This report changes every single morning. They update it with what is in season at the farmer's market and the going price. If you want to find one for your the area near you, what I would recommend is the URL up here at the top. You can take off some of the endings and always play with the URL and just see what you get when you take off something, whether or not it will load. So back up. So there we go. So I just took off the little bit that put on Columbia's report. But now you see where the problem is, because we get into these really big, there's just reports for everything. Livestock reports by city, but you can put in the market that you want to. I don't want a direct livestock market. But you can play with it and you can find what is in your area if you're really, really wanting to go hunting there we go, farmer's market, apply. Let's see, maybe this will be nice. There we go. There's every farmer's market that they run reports for, and a lot of them, but you can also get a feel for it. So these are just daily reports. You can go back and find the report in your area. Hopefully that will help if you are wanting your own report, but they're not really going to change that much. So now I can go to the farmer's market. I have an idea of what a good price is. If I'm not going to go to a farmer's market, maybe you're going to go to a local farm. Well, this is still the price they would have gotten if they sold it at the federal farmer's market. So you still have an idea going in what is a good price for what I'm trying to grab. So use that report. It's your homework to know, again, what is in season right now? What can I buy? And what the going price is for those items. And it will be a help for you for sure. And yes, my husband's chiming in, and it's a very good point to remember. The price on that report, I like the way he worded it to me too, as he sends me little notes. The price on that report that I just showed you, it is not the 10 a.m. at the farmer's market price. This is like the 5 a.m. at the farmer's market price. So keep in mind, when I go to a local farmer's market and I am buying from a guy in that little tiny basket of plums or peaches, that you're really buying from someone who bought at the federal level and is probably now reselling to you. So you're not actually buying directly from the farmer. You thought you were because you went to a farmer's market. But the real farmer's market at the federal level is happening really early in the morning. It's happening at like 5:30 in the morning, 6 a.m. So this up here, it even tells you in this paragraph, in case you don't believe me, but it says wholesale prices paid to the growers until 9 a.m. Unless otherwise stated. So you come after 9 a.m., you're not really buying from the wholesalers. You're buying from the resellers. And they're going to want a little bit of money because they woke up and they bought it at 5 a.m. And then they're splitting it up for you. So keep that in mind as you go to the farmer's market. You don't get to sleep in. You need to get up early to get the best prices that you can. Okay. And CSA Farms, let's not forget about those too. So CSA Farms are another really great way to find a decent price on produce. You will be able to find some CSA. So what is that? I'm trying to think of my military letters for that, but like Cat Sam, what can A be? I don't think you'll miss it up. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And you will go to a farm, you actually buy a share in the farm. They will give you different size baskets and you decide which one you want basically. So you say, okay, I want a small basket. I want a medium basket. This is the best example in terms of like how Misfit Markets adds in. So someone always brings this up. I was actually mentioning with some friends today at lunch, produce co-op, like this is what we do and you really need to get in on it. And someone right there sitting on our little blanket out of the playground said, oh, this sounds like Misfit Market. Yeah, produce co-op and Misfit Market, not really a really good comparison because the cost Misfit Market wise will never compare to just going to your local farmer's market and buying in bulk. But if you want to get kind of a discount and still get a decent price, that's where Misfit Market online can come in and still feel like you did a decent price on those produce items. You'll still do better locally from the local farmer's market. CSA Farm is almost in the middle. So CSA Farm, I'm buying directly from the farm. I'm going to get that basket every week of what's in season and what's fresh on the farm. Sometimes it's every other week, just depends on the farm. But you're still going to get a great price for what is in your basket. The difference between the two, CSA Farm versus Misfit Market, is that CSA Farm, I do not always get a say of what is in my basket. So I'm going to get whatever the farm is growing. And Misfit Market, I am going to sit down and get to say, I want this, I want this, I want this in my box. Still paying some overhead there. So you do have to consider that. You're still buying this from a business who is still really a third party. They're buying the produce and then reselling it to you. So not always the lowest price that you could get on those items, but still a decent price if you're, curious or you've heard of those and you wanted to check them out. Okay. Another tip on produce, and this one seems common sense, but it's some of us, you go in with eyes that are really kind of bigger than what you can end up using at home. And so when it comes down to produce, you need to have the mindset to only buy what you will use. And definitely if we are paying grocery store prices on that. So if it means that you're going in and you're getting apples and you don't get enough, it's okay to not get enough. It's better that than they went bad. And that's the hard part, is making sure that you're not losing money on produce that wasn't eaten. So one great way to do this would be, and I try hard in my house, my kids will get in a rut with snack. But if I look over here and I have bananas that are going bad and no one's wanted to touch bananas this week. Last week, they all wanted bananas. Now no one does. Then whatever snack it is that they just came to me and asked for, my answer is going to be no, but you can have a banana. So making sure that we're kind of putting those things that need to be eaten in front of people. If they're not wanting to choose them, no, you can't have that, but you can have banana anytime you want it. The banana is there. That's going to be what you're going to keep throwing at them until they eat it. The other one would be if you have a leftover night, which I think every meal plan should have a leftover night factored in, that on leftover night, you also use that as an opportunity to go through the fridge and pull out produce that needs to be eaten. So I know it's not as simple because a lot of times leftover night means mama doesn't have to cook, but it is going to save you from that, I bought this asparagus and we didn't eat it and it was $2.99. No, on leftover night, we went through and we pulled out produce as well. Hopefully you've got a teenager. you can ask them to cook it up for you. It doesn't take long to saute asparagus either, but use that as part of your leftover night routine. It'll only take you a few weeks to get into the habit of, and then it'll just become old hat. This is just what we do on leftover night. It's basically a clean out the fridge night, making sure that we're not going to waste produce. Produce is expensive. In reality, if we were to do this by weight, your produce costs more than your meat. And a lot of us don't think about it that way, but it does. So you've got to have a very good mindset of not wasting. Also consider with produce, even if it's in the fridge for a while, could I freeze it? So if you're getting to the point and maybe you're about to go out of town, or you've got a whole bunch of things coming up and you've got something every single night, you're not going to cook dinner, you're not going to use those items, going ahead really quickly and chopping them, onions, peppers, getting them in the freezer, chopped and ready to go for future meals. You will be very thankful down the road that you did that. You've got them set. You don't have to chop them later, but you didn't waste them. So that's the big one, because the wasting, some of us, we don't even think about it. Like, and you just start throwing it away. But if you were to add up everything that you just threw away, it could be $100 easily if you don't go through your freezer for a while or your fridge for a while, and then you go through with just big trash bags. Oh, don't do that. So just make it a regular habit to use up those items or to get those items in the freezer so that you're not wasting them. I think a lot of us don't realize how much we do waste. I'm slightly concerned that we are all going to start to quickly become much better at using what we have on hand. But we need to do it because we want to save money. And that would be much better than we need to do it because we have to do it. So get in the good habit now. Do I have a list on the site for what freezes well veggie way? You know what? I think we have done a series of posts on freezing veggies, but in general, most veggies freeze great. The only exception being like leafy greens. You're not going to freeze your leafy greens. What you could do, this isn't going to work for romaine, but your collards, your mustard greens, all of those things, I would go ahead and cook them and then freeze them cooked, so that all I'm going to do is just thaw them and they're ready to go. Yes, I'm a Southerner. Some of you guys may not even have any clue as to how you would deal with collards, but that's what we would do with them down here, is just cook them and freeze them cooked. But a lot of your other veggies are going to be good to go straight in. So your general summer veggies from the garden, 90% of your summer veggies, your beans, your squash, your zucchinis, your okra, you're good to just cut them up, blanch them, and freeze them. We don't blanch our okra, but we do go ahead and pre-bread it because all okra should be fried in my book. The only thing that I would say we don't freeze from our garden would be tomatoes. And we will get tomatoes out of the garden. If we've got a plethora of tomatoes, we will can them. So that is just, even a couple jars at a time, canning them. And what I would recommend there, if you don't have a canner, because most people don't have a canner, is just Google a hot water bath canning. And you will find, oh wait, I have a big pot. I have a pot that's tall enough to do this. You don't need any extra supplies. You've already got everything you need. And really, canning 2 jars, it does not take a lot of effort. So if we've got a bunch of tomatoes that need to be used up, we will really quickly do that. Sometimes we've even come home from produce and we've got our huge produce co-op basket and realized this is a ton of tomatoes, and we will go ahead and can them right there on a Saturday. We won't even wait to see whether or not we will eat them all. There just have been times that we've come home with way more than we can handle. Perfect. Can them and get them stuck up. Tomatoes don't freeze well, but everything else in our typical garden would. Potatoes and onions. Potatoes I don't need to freeze because as long as I keep them cool and dry, potatoes are actually going to last for quite a while. A lot of us think your first thought is no, they grow eyes. My response to you would be they're not cold enough and they're not dry enough. So if your house is really above 70, which is where most of us are, that's actually not as cold as potatoes would like to be. So if you had a plethora of potatoes, I would really want to keep them somewhere else. I remember we used to have, growing up in Florida, a walk under a kind of dugout spot under the house, that would be ideal. The goal in that, hopefully it's kind of dry too, but it's very cool and it's very dark, and your potatoes are not going to grow eyes for quite a while. We've had sweet potatoes that we've kept in our pantry for months, happy as a lark. So potatoes is not an issue. They're not going to freeze well either. You just want to keep them cold and dark. And onions, go ahead and chop them up. If they start to get leafy or start to grow on you, that's an easy one too. You don't need to blanch those either. Okay. One other tip on that, as we talk about freezing, is it is helpful to learn how to store your veggies. So as I'm saying, your potatoes want to be cold and dry. We did have to learn kind of the hard way how to keep fresh lettuce and greens crisp. So if you just got like a head of lettuce from the store, think about how it comes from the grocery store. So most lettuces are in a bag or in like a plastic clamshell, and that's on purpose. They do not want to just be in your fridge loose. If I stuck a head of romaine loose in the fridge, it will wilt and it will look really yucky within a day and a half. Even if you like literally picked it from your garden. So what we do, you can buy all sorts of fancy things to hold on to things. You don't need to. Just get 2 plastic grocery bags, cheap plastic grocery bags that they put your groceries in, and put the lettuce in the bag, and then take the second bag and put it over the opening so that the lettuce is in on this side, and then I put a bag over the opening. So now the lettuce is inside, basically covered both directions, and that lettuce inside those bags will last for weeks. So we do this with our kale, with romaine, any sort of leafy green that I'm not going to cook within the first couple of days of coming home from Produce Co-op. It's going to go double bagged in the bag, and then a bag over the opening of the bag so that the lettuce itself is fully enclosed, happy as can be, and will last quite a while in your fridge like that. Now you still want to bring it out and you still want to wash it. I'm not washing it before I put it up in the fridge from Co-op. I want to wash it before I eat it, but it's still a great way to put them in and get them, to where they're going to last you for quite a bit. Okay, and we do have something. So my husband's going to put this in the comments. He may have already done it for you guys, but just to show you, he went digging. So I'll pull it up and show you too. But this is a printable on vegetables and freezing. So it's how long to blanch depending on the vegetable, and what kind of prep that vegetable needs, to wash it, to peel it, whatever you might need to. Some veggies you do want to peel before you freeze them. And then a short list of things that do not need to be blanched before you freeze them. And this even says tomatoes and potatoes. You can freeze those. I guess I should, not say they don't freeze well. You can freeze pretty much anything. It just depends on how you want to use it when it comes out. To me, tomatoes get a little gritty when you freeze them, so I would rather can them. But you can definitely freeze them as well. So we will stick this in the comments, and you can grab this printable if you want to, but super easy on how to freeze and how long to blanch on lots of things there. So hopefully that will help you guys. And then so Lynn, great off-topic question. Any savings tips for college freshmen when they require you to purchase a cafeteria meal plan? There isn't a ton that you can do there when it is required. The only thing would be to ask if they allow flexibility in what that meal plan looks like. So depending on the size of the college, really tiny universities sometimes don't have any flexibility, but larger or mid-sized universities, sometimes they will have different plans that you can choose from. Hands down, I would always recommend, it's kind of like the free form plan where they just have a bucket of money and it's not a set amount of meals. Set amount of meals, your kid is not going to eat that many meals in the cafeteria unless they are a boy on the football team. I would just go with the set amount of money. I even remember as a college student, that set amount of money plan, which was the cheapest option at Florida State, we were still just blowing money on ice cream and everything at the end of the semester so that we didn't feel like we were wasting it for our parents. So still not going to be the best way to go. But you could also, encourage your kids to use their meal plan a little differently. We had college students from church over a couple Sundays ago, and they all sat around the table sharing very funny meal plan stories. But one of them, I was a little proud of her. She was going to the cafeteria. They had to have a meal plan because they live on campus too. So most of this crew goes to Columbia International University. But she was going to the cafeteria to, I'm guessing, the salad bar, getting fresh broccoli and fresh carrots off of the salad bar, and then bringing them back to her room and toasting them in her toaster oven the way that she wanted to. So, if they're going to use it, at least getting them to really use it. I'm proud of her for thinking through that one. But there is not a ton of ways to save because that meal plan is pretty much a set in stone value. And they don't have discounts that they offer on them when it's required. It's really just asking if there's a different plan or a different level that could be used. Some schools will not allow that on the first semester, but if you ask, will allow you to make changes on the second semester. So if they can then see my kid did not use this, they will let you come off of it if you can show that they didn't use it. Not telling you to tell your kid not to eat, but you will be able to get sometimes some changes from them if they were not using the program. You can kind of talk them out of it. Okay. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody else's questions. And we hit a lot of things tonight. Do I have a resource for heirloom seeds that you can replant? There are some, and I see my husband put in some comments for you too. There are some great ones. We got a magazine catalog from one. I literally want to order everything that's in it, and it is heirloom seeds. But kind of hunting out there for some of them, I would really recommend just going in and hunting some deals. There are a lot of deals on seeds right now in a number of stores. They don't necessarily have to be super fancy. The goal here is veggies, right? This is the perfect time to be grabbing them. Even if you live further north than we do, I mean, it was crazy hot today, but it's still going to get cold at least one more time. But if you want to have a garden this summer, now is the time to start getting all of your seeds going indoor. You can always get them outside. Once they've grown a little bit, they'll be a little hardier and they'll do better anyway. So it's your homework. We should all start getting our gardens going this weekend. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hop off, guys. We are not going to have a Q&A next week. We're going to take the week off, but we'll be back on March 21st, and we will talk gas savings. Hopefully by then, maybe prices will go down. I doubt it highly. I have a feeling they'll be a little bit worse. What I would recommend between now and then is that you actually change your normal gas routine. My normal gas routine is coming in on fumes and filling up at the very possible last minute. I wouldn't do that. Let's go dollar cost averaging here, guys. We're not trying to, there's not gonna be a run on gas. It's more as I continue to fill up, I'm filling up at a cheaper price than it will be later on in the day or by tomorrow. So as you're using gas, that you're replacing it with semi-affordable gas, because it's only going to be more painful the lower you take your tank. So that's my one tip to get you started. Dollar cost average your gas basically over the next week or so. And we will have a Q&A again on gas savings exclusively. As Carrie recommended, but I agree with Carrie. It's a great topic. We'll hit off topic questions too. So I'll be back tomorrow, guys, with drugstore deals at 2 o'clock. So make sure you can join me then or catch it after the fact for all the deals that are running in CVS and in Walgreens this week. It's a pretty good list. Plus, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but the CVS ad lately is only 9 pages long. And there are a ton of deals in CVS that are not in that ad. So I will try to give you the best of what you can grab. So join me tomorrow again at 2 o'clock for all of that, or watch it after the fact. Thanks for joining me tonight, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.